I love massively multiplayer role-playing games. I love Elder Scrolls games. And I love exploring huge fantasy worlds. Yet it was weird. Over the last year or so, the Elder Scrolls Online didn't get me excited. It looked old, and it played old. This past weekend, I got to play a few dozen hours of it. I still think it feels old, and it's clearly torn between two worlds, the world of the MMO and the world of Elder Scrolls. But there's just enough here to make me look forward to what the final release will have to offer. What drew me in was the world. Yes, it's a world many of us already know, but the Elder Scrolls Online uses that familiarity to its advantage, easing back on the user interface and allowing Tamriel to fill the screen. By default, you don't see names hovering over the heads of your fellow players, and the hotbar containing your attack icons disappears when you're not engaged in combat. As you stroll about the streets of Daggerfall, the compass at the top of the screen and a brief quest description are your only on-screen guides. This is where the game excels. The series' high fantasy tone is front and center. Creepy graveyards and tranquil meadows both have their unique kind of beauty. This is a place I want to be. As I played, however, it didn't take me long to see the downside of the game's focus on immersion. And it didn't help that the group of folks playing was relatively small. I was approaching the Elder Scrolls Online like Skyrim or Oblivion, as a solo adventure. I occasionally noticed other players, but there was no reason to interact with them. And so I had to ask myself, does this game need to be online at all?
I'm sure of it.
It's too soon to know. However, because I was a lone adventurer, it didn't take long for me to notice that next to, say, Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls Online wasn't stacking up. The usual Elder Scrolls invitation to go anywhere and do anything has been stifled a bit, instead sending you down a path more akin to other online RPGs. Nevertheless, I enjoyed my questing time. Bethesda has always done a great job of taking typical RPG duties and giving them good context so that you don't feel like you're repeating the same activities over and over again. When villagers were burnt out of their homes, I went in search of stray victims in need of assistance. When I was transported to the past, I discovered the origins of a racial conflict that had present-day implications. And in many of those cases, I had choices on how to proceed. For example, I could interrogate prisoners so that they would divulge the information I required, or I could order the guards to slit their throats and then compel the victim spirits to spill their ghostly guts. Of course, a lot of these quests required that I slash up bandits and wolves with daggers or fling fire at them. I like that the Elder Scrolls Online provides so much flexibility in how you develop your character. Sadly, the clunky combat just doesn't measure up. The stiff animations and seemingly random hitboxes make for milquetoast skirmishes. But you know, I had fun in spite of the obvious identity issues and the bland action. Fantasy ambience and the varied quests kept me absorbed. The question is whether the enjoyment can last. And I'm not sure that the Elder Scrolls Online can properly combine online adventuring and Elder Scrolls world building without making both aspects of the game feel incomplete.
I'd feel mildly disappointed, but I leave it up to you.